So I have always loved the title of Milan Kundera's book, The Unbearable Lightness of Being, more than the book itself in some ways, because there's just something about that title, that pairing of words, that for me, even before I read the book, so resonated in terms of some underlying anxiety I, at that point, pre kind of whole spiritual and introspective journey, felt about life. That, like, I was so sensitive to life, and I was so inspired by life, and so deeply, feeling and connected, and all these big, emotions. Yet, it was also kind of unbearable. Like, the beauty was unbearable. And also, I knew that there was a lightness that could be achieved or experienced that I wasn't necessarily experiencing, but there was a heaviness that more consumed my day-to-day existence. And I theorized, and through many modalities have pulled out that a lot of that, because we all have our wounds, we all have our stories, comes from the fact that I not only was adopted, and so there's that whole abandonment piece, but the 9 months I spent in my birth mother, she was very unsure what she wanted to do. She kept changing her mind. This has been documented in different ways, in my, from my adoptive parents and the lawyers involved, and her, even meeting her finally. And she, not only about whether to have me or not, but whether to raise me or give me up for an adoption. And, then there was the input from my birth father. It's my own gnostic understanding, and there is good evidence for epigenetics and what you're exposed to in utero, that stress, that anxiety deeply, deeply lives in me. Like, do I have a place in this world? Should I be here? I mean, I'm very, very conscious of the fact that she did not physically have to have me. I was born in the 80s. And so I never gave it words, because it was probably too scary to give it words until I was, a young adult. But I always felt like, I have to prove and earn my existence here. No matter how much my adoptive family, emphasized it wasn't about achievement. Like, yes, strive for these things, but like, we're going to love you regardless of whether you are the best student, the best singer, the best whatever. There was just this deep, intrinsic pressure I came into the world with, that was like, she didn't have to have you, so you have to somehow justify the fact that you are here, because otherwise you're just consuming resources, and that's not to be. And, that gets you so far. That gets you certain places. It helps you achieve certain things, learn rather quickly, or just be able to perform under pressure, because if there's a will, there's a way. But comes a point in which that's not sustainable. And I'm deeply grateful that I realized that at an early age, before I reached a really desperate physical place, that I was kind of given the insight and the opportunity to change that MO, if you will, at 19 rather than much later on. But no matter all of this work, echoes of that can still exist in my, mistaken intellect that I am ever looking to correct and integrate more fully. And someone a few years ago, it was actually in a somatic setting, but it's some of the most liberating spiritual insight I've heard in years. He said, everything has the right to exist. And this is when I was conveying to him that I, felt like, I have to, prove my worth being here. I have to achieve or do something great, because, and again, like, on a intellectual and spiritual level, I know that isn't the case, that I am inherently worthy, that I am enough, that it isn't about the, external accomplishments so much as the, the internal state of being. But this energy still resides, and it still comes up in places. And when he said that everything has the right to exist, the grass that's popping up between, the pavement on the curb, like, does that not have a right to exist because it isn't Central Park or it isn't the Redwoods? No, of course not. Like, every living thing is inherently beautiful and has some function in this ecosystem, regardless of the exposition, so to speak, about how we got here and why we got here, and the terms and who wanted whom and blah, blah, blah. And so I think often of that, and I think that doesn't just apply on the existential level of like, everyone has the right to exist in terms of, my life or not, but everything has a right to exist, including the things I don't like about myself, or the things that I struggle with, or the things that are not my preference, or the people that are not my preference, right? We talk a lot about this in external, like how do you accept or love people? You look for the pearly teeth, that which is beautiful about them, and you place your attention there, and then from that grows more love or acceptance. But we have to turn that inward too. We have to realize that, Pavarotti would say about a singer that they have to love everything about themselves. And it doesn't just mean your voice or your musicality. It means how you look on stage, how that weird thing in your foot causes the pressure in your system to be a little off, or that I have to love the fact that I had a scoliosis operation and that's made me have to work harder or have certain issues with my breathing as a singer that I wouldn't have otherwise had. And so, yeah, what about your own existence are you eschewing? And when you know full well that it has every right not only to exist, but that it's probably in many ways like the crowning jewel of your own realization in this lifetime.